Everything's rolling, so we should be good to go.
Cool.
Matt, thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
What is Brickbound, and what can you tell me about it?
Oh, Brickbound. Brickbound is a leather goods company with the sole purpose of making simple things well. So I got into it about 15 years ago after an injury, but really found myself wanting to continue it because I was having a hard time finding things that were of a certain quality. And I just really was annoyed having to buy things every couple of years, things that should last forever, simple things. So when I had some downtime trying to recover from this injury, I started to make some stuff, and I learned from the saddle maker here in town, Brian over at Black Sheep. And he was very nice, took the time to kind of give me the rundown of the materials he uses, the tools he uses, and the basic technique from start to finish, enough to go home and just kind of try to wing it on my own. So I use saddle quality leather. I hand stitch everything with a thread that's way overkill for what it needs to do, but it allows me to say with confidence that the product is going to last for a long time. And in 10 years, I haven't had to fix a stitch. And that's really what it comes down to. So I don't try to overcomplicate it. I don't try to get caught up in the thrills of anything or the fringe or the things that aren't absolutely necessary. And then to just kind of stay with that in mind, with that in focus.
Any background in leather prior to that?
None.
Okay.
None whatsoever. Not in the industry, not in, not even a thought. So it was really one of those things where I was looking at a bag I had bought. So a little bit of backstory here is before I tore my knee at Big Sky, which is what I needed the hobby for, I went and visited a friend in Morocco who was in the Peace Corps.
Okay.
And so we went around and we went to some old tanneries there that, they're like 6,000 years old, and they still use camel urine and pigeon poop and these big vats. And there's just guys just mashing on this leather, and they give you a little sprig of mint to put under your nose so tourists don't throw up as you're getting the tour, but they're very savvy and you end in the gift shop. So I picked up a bag from them. So when I was laid up on the couch trying to recover, I saw this bag and I kind of wanted to emulate this bag just through the want for creativity, for the need to stay busy. I like to stay busy. So I just kind of followed that itch and tried to scratch it, and went down to somebody who was, more than capable of creating that piece in town and had the wisdom and the wherewithal to share it with me. And it allowed me to kind of get creative in new ways. And I enjoy working for myself. I enjoy kind of having some, independence in that regard. And so it was really nice just to have something that I could create just through my own ways and means.
I know we look at our shortcomings. Your injury led you to this, so that's
Yeah, it's a good perspective to keep in mind, right? You never know what's going to happen out of something that's instantly perceived as negative. Not only did it allow me to create in this new avenue I wasn't even aware I was interested in, but now my bum knee is now my good knee. So it feels better than my knee that never had any issue. And it's allowed me to create this little business for myself. So, yeah, it's always something nice to keep in the back of your mind that you never really know what sort of negative thing will have a positive outcome.
When we talk about the leather, I think of stitches breaking all the time. Is it the stitch material? Is it the quality of the whole job? Hi, folks. Quick note from me. If you don't already know, the goal of Mountain Mule Media is to build real connection between Montana's businesses and the people they serve. If this episode or any other has given you something worth thinking about, smiling at, or passing along, I've got a small ask. Share it with a friend, text it to someone, post it in your story. That one simple action helps these businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this show keep going. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. Now back to the show.
It's a good question. Most things are planned to just make the minimum requirements. So usually it's a combination of using something that will work, but does have a shelf life as far as, both the leather and the stitch. It's usually the leather that rips in the seams of the stitch. So it's not the actual stitch that will rip or the thread that will rip, but it's just, every time the sewing machine goes through, it pokes a hole in the material. So it's just a little bit weaker every time there's a puncture. And if the leather's too thin or if it's too close to the edge, there's not much there to really grasp onto. So if there is a certain tension point in a product that isn't designed correctly or is just not built with the right integrity in mind, then you'll start to see it go, usually in handles or in like the shoulder strap part of the bag, or the piece, whatever it is. Or let's say it's a leather shoe where you always fold when you step, like that'll be the first place to go. Currently in the atmosphere that we find ourselves in with the consumer world, a lot of leather is just marketing. So you'll hear a lot about pleather, or what used to be pleather, fake leather, vegan leather, plant leather, and everybody has the right intention, right? Like we all want to get the best product that we can out there. A lot of this stuff is still based in plastic though, and polymer. So you get the mushroom top, you get the pineapple top, you get the, what else is agave leather, you get that as the top part of the leather. So that's what you see. That's what they emboss. That's what they color. But all of the backer is still petroleum based. So it's the binding agent. So it doesn't break apart quicker than it needs to, but still it will disintegrate faster. So, if you keep the long picture in mind, the long-term picture, true leather is a byproduct of the meat industry, right? There's way more meat that's harvested every year in this country than the leather products that are made. So every hide of leather you turn into a product is one less piece of leather that's already in existence, but just going to go into the landfill. And when you couple that with the veg tan method, which you can still find in tanneries in the United States. So you don't have to import if you don't want to. You can find them in St. Louis, Chicago, Pennsylvania, I think California. It is the old school method of producing leather. So it doesn't include a lot of acids. It doesn't include a lot of chemicals. It is literally the bark stripped off of what they call it, the quebracho tree. And it's just like axe breaker because it's just a really, really hard tree. And so they strip the bark off of that, they break it down, they extract the tannin oils from those trees, and that's what they use to tan these hides. So unlike the tannery in Morocco, where you have to have the sprig of mint under your nose so you're not, getting nauseous, you can walk through this tannery, which I have in St. Louis, Herman Oak, and you don't need anything. You can walk in there and, there's a smell, but it's not disgusting and it's not pungent. It doesn't smell that bad at all, to be surprisingly enough. It's pretty neat. So it's a cool thing because nobody really knows about it, but it's the older way of doing it. And it's still in my mind, the most responsible way to do it.
And you're getting a very high quality leather as well?
The highest. Yeah.
So that's in the US where you're getting that?
Correct.
Okay.
You can find it in Italy. You can find it in France. You can find it in Turkey. You can even find it, in China at some places. But specifically, you hear so many terms out there like top grain, full grain, all these different types of leather. If you just ask the person if it's chrome tanned or if it's veg tanned is always going to be the higher quality. It's harder to find, but it's always the higher quality.
What are the hides generally from? Are they cattle?
Usually cattle.
Okay.
Yeah. So I use the tannery in the United States, and then I use a tannery in Italy. In the tannery in Italy, I can get leather that's colored, which is nice, so I don't have to deal with the dyeing. But all of the browns and the blacks I get from the tannery in St. Louis, and they can guarantee me that it's U.S. steer. So it usually comes from farms pretty close to them. As close as Omaha, Nebraska, because it has to come from the slaughterhouses, right? So it does have to come from the ranches through the slaughterhouse and then get shipped to the tannery. But they also offer what's called a branded side. So you can see the brand from the cattle. And so if you want, you can go on the Department of Agriculture website. And if you know how to decipher the brand name, you can type it in and you can get a response telling you where that cow was raised. So in an industry that is so far removed from everyday life for most people, right, there is actually a way to make it almost a full closed circle as far as where it was born, where it was raised, where it was slaughtered, where this meat went, where the hide went, me or another maker finishing the product and then going to market, which is pretty neat.
That is cool. Do people ever can you see the brand if you use that piece of leather?
Yes.
Have people done that?
Yes. Sometimes I specifically do it to incorporate it. It's a really unique look. Sometimes I get lucky and I've had people see it and like, oh, those are my initials. I have to have that bag. But other times it's just more about promoting the story and promoting the fact that, hey, in this industry, in fashion in particular, where everything seems to come from overseas at one point or one stage of the cycle, to be able to get materials and then make it in the States, people appreciate it. So the story is almost just as important as the product itself.
I imagine you've been in the Western Cafe with the brands all over the place.
It's fantastic, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, that's very cool to think of. My sister and brother-in-law are in a ranch up near Chinook, and I wonder if any of their brands have ever been tracked down anywhere.
Yeah, it's so that's the missing link, is going from the field to the tannery, because there's so few tanneries that most of the stuff gets shipped overseas and is turned into leather shoes, but doesn't go through the tanneries here in the States, and they're maxed out. It's not like they have the capability to do more. They're functioning at full capacity, and they're still, the one I use, they only go through 3% of the hides that are available to the United States market, right? So there's so much waste in this industry, but there's still a want for leather products. And so if people, I guess, kind of learned a little bit more, and it's interesting. I love having conversations with vegans because it's really a dynamic industry. The least amount of waste, like the pleather industry, doesn't need to exist. It's a complete, it has nothing, no purpose it serves can't be served by just the true leather industry, which I think is kind of interesting. So it's completely obsolete.
Yeah, this is just a byproduct. They're already going to exist. So it's, you're creating, you could go down 100 different avenues of how you're just creating, more expenses and more issues overall.
Exactly.
More harm than good if you're trying to create pleather when all this leather is there and it's going to be in the landfill.
Yep. And you can make it thin, you can make it thick, you can make it brown, you can make it sparkle, you can make it textured. There's really no limit to what leather can't do compared to fake leather, compared to, pleather.
How does wild game hide compare to a cow?
It's much softer. Elk, deer, antelope, bear, everything is softer than a cowhide. And I don't know the reason behind it. It's also really tricky to get those hides processed into a usable piece, because I would love to be able to work with hunters who, they care about which animal they select and shoot. So it's going to be a beautiful piece, a beautiful hide, and it might as well be used just like the meat they're going to harvest and cook with. And it'll have a story, it'll have meaning behind it. So if I was able to figure out how to get hunted animals, hunted game meat tanned, that would be a really fun piece of the loop to close. And then, the hunter could have something that he could use and wear, or, kick back to somebody in his family to use and wear. And it would be fun. But those hides are gorgeous. It's just a matter of getting them from the animal to a usable piece.
What restricts it right now? Is it a legal thing? Do people not do it? Is it because of the quality?
I think it's the industry that's around, the tanneries that are around, are just big operations. So like, let's say like your family has cattle and they want to get it tanned, like they want to sell it as leather as well as the meat. They would have to give the tannery so many hides to get a run through that, it's hard to produce that amount in that time frame. Because, you have to salt these things or freeze them so they don't go rancid. If they're not just continuously moving through the process. So I think in the case of the hunters, it's just a matter of quantity, where you could find somebody that'd be willing to take on a small run of things, or saving them to a point where it's worth a big operation taking on.
So if somebody said, Matt, I shot this elk, I'm going to get this tanned and bring it to you, can you do anything with it?
No.
Okay.
Oh, if they tan it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But like if it's just the hide off the animal, no, they would need to be either brain tanned with the hair on, or tanned, with the hair off. But as soon as it's tanned, then yeah, you can do stuff with it. Absolutely.
So not that I'm trying to give anyone any ideas, but if they were to get it tanned and bring it to you, then you could
totally
do something with
it. Yeah. And I think that'd be fun.
Has that happened yet or no?
No, it has not. We've talked about it. And I do have some friends who have been lucky enough to shoot like bison, and they wanted to make a piece out of the bison. But it's just a matter of finding somebody that can tan it. And they exist. People still brain tan things. It's a very laborious process. It's pretty gross. And, and a lot of people, it's just not worth their time and effort. But an interesting fact that I've learned is every animal has enough brain to tan its own hide.
Okay. And what's the brain tan process?
It's literally using the brain and some salt and some water to tan the hide. Those are the only things you need. There's a woman here in town who does it. And I'm trying to go this year to kind of experience and learn a little bit, but the process is just so labor intensive that it really makes it hard to make money off of. So it's really just a labor of love for the individual hunter or whoever harvests the animal.
Yeah, it sounds a little gnarly too.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's gross.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the bison used to be just harvest for their hide. Is that correct with Native Americans? And I might be making this up, but from what I understood, they weren't primarily hunted for their meat. It was for their hide.
That I do not know the answer for. Yeah. I do know the only folks that I know that are doing the brain tanning are native, but I don't know what the primary purpose for the slaughter was.
Yeah, no, there's that book that Steve Vernella, American Bison,
Oh, yeah.
and I believe that covered it, but it's been quite a while since
Okay.
I read it. But I do recall the hide being what they were after, not the meat.
Gotcha. I mean, I could see why. It's just they're gorgeous. They're so warm. They serve so many purposes, from shelter to clothing, everything in between. Then it's just the hide, let alone the entire animal, right? So it serves so many good, and it works so much better than anything we try to create. Leather and wool, right? Sometimes the basics just work, and we get kind of far removed from that, and we get caught up in either things that are fun colors or lightweight or good for a myriad of other reasons. But when it comes down to doing like some of the basics, wool and leather are just really hard to beat.
It's always nature.
Yeah.
I grew up in a farm. It always comes back to
Right.
just watch nature
They know what they're doing. It's just a matter of embracing it and finding ways to use it instead of trying to recreate it. I feel like we always fall short when we try to recreate what Mother Nature makes.
Yeah.
And we know how to do it, right? It's not even like we're left with the hide and we don't know how to turn it into a usable product. We know how to turn it into a usable product. So it's been fun to talk to people about leather when they come in.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you this before I forget. You own a leather company, but the name is Brickbound.
Correct. Yeah, Brickbound.
Why? Where did that come from?
That's a good question. Coming up with a name is such a hard part of business. And I had started this with a college buddy. So we were trying to figure out, like what's a mission statement going to be? Why do we exist? What's our purpose? Kind of the basics, just to reinforce that there's a reason we're doing this. So we'd come up with a couple things. They kind of fell flat. Decided that I decided that I wanted to incorporate the word bound, just to reinforce the quality of the products we were going to make. And we kind of had this brain fart, and we couldn't think of something to go with it, because bound is just not enough. So we took a break, and I don't know, this is I always go to this for a reference. I don't know how many people actually know this, but like the third Men in Black movie, there's a point in that movie where they're like trying to solve the crime, but they can't figure out what the next step is. So I think it's Tommy Lee Jones' character. He goes, "Let's go have some pie." And Will Smith is like, "We don't have time for pie. We're trying to do something here." And he's like, "No, it's the lesson of sometimes you have to take your mind off of things for it to come to you." And so we stopped and we went and we had dinner downtown in a brick building, and we're kind of looking around, and it's like, these brick buildings are not that complicated, right? It's good mortar, a good foundation, and bricks. All the same size, all the same quality, something that's just repetitive. So in my mind, there was a metaphor there, an analogy with just the leather and the thread, where it's just very simple things. And, we cover it with beeswax at the end. So all very basic stuff, not a ton of ingredients, just what you need. And then it creates something that you can rely on and will be there for years and years. So it's kind of a metaphor for a brick building.
Yeah, I like it.
Thanks.
I like when it's not like it. I had to ask you, and it's a cool story to it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, there's some background thought to it. So we just didn't pull it out of thin air completely.
Yeah. You never know. I get such mixed answers with that question.
I believe it. It's so
many
hard.
different. Yeah.
It's so hard. And there's so many ways to decide a name, right? Like if it has to do with the purpose of the company, if it has to do with good search engine results, like do you want to be an A so you come up first in the alphabet, or something that everybody's just going to associate with the brand or with the product. So we decided to take a more personal touch and come up with something that kind of emulated the core value of what we were trying to do.
I think the A was like a plus everything. That was a Yellow Pages thing because always if you were A plus,
Yeah,
whoever
you were first,
yeah,
right? We had A1 limousine where I grew up,
yep.
and everything was just top of the alphabet because it was the first. And that's, we've gotten a little bit more freedom now with the ways you can discover brands and things, but still those things can be taken into consideration.
So I know you from the yoga studio in town. So it's Eckham. And I asked Bailey, she has a long story of the meaning of Eckham. And I always looked at Eckham, and if you look at Eckham spelled backwards, it's make.
Oh, I never put that together.
And I'm like, that's probably why she picked it. It's just make yoga, but it's backwards. She's like, no, that had nothing. I'm like, okay.
That's great.
So I just seen it enough times, and my mind went away with it. And she has a cool, a deeper explanation to what it means, but I had nothing to do with that.
It's always fun to see other people's perspectives too.
Yeah,
or to see where their mind goes and to figure it out. But yeah,
do you know the band Whiskey Meyer?
Yes.
Okay, so someone asked them on an interview what the meaning to one of their songs was, and they said we don't tell people the meanings to our songs because we want everyone to have their own meaning to it. Like, we don't want to take it away from them because that could be what it means to them.
That's great.
And they said even everyone in the band, it might mean something different to each person.
I like that.
I thought it was cool.
Leaves room for more imagination.
Yeah. So I'm sticking with make yoga.
Yeah. It's good. And it makes sense. There's, you can see how you could come to that conclusion.
Yeah. And did you grow up here in Montana?
I did not. No, I moved out here for school.
Okay.
I came out to MSU when I was 19 years old and grew up in New Jersey.
Okay. And
then took a year off after high school. I grew up in the same hometown and just had friends because I was young and we lived next to each other.
Yep.
At a certain point, I was like, can I make friends? I've always had friends. I've just never moved. I've never had to really take the risk. So I took a year off after high school and did an Outward Bound program with just a bunch of strangers and hiking for a bunch and doing some sailing and just trying to basically work as a team and learning how to be a teenager without a huge ego attached to it. Mm-hmm. And it kind of gave me the confidence to go somewhere I'd never been before and to just do something where I didn't know anybody. So I applied to schools, and of course I'm young, so I'm applying to schools where there's good skiing. So I applied to New Hampshire, Vermont, Colorado, up here. And MSU was nice enough to kind of give me a little bit of a scholarship if I chose to come up here. So 3 days before school started, I showed up to Montana for the first time and was like, all right, this is the life I've chosen for myself. And over the years of, just falling in love with the place and it's, it changes, but the core of what it is, the essence is still there, I think. And I still find myself really enjoying the interactions I have with people who live here and who find themselves either visiting or moving here. It seems that no matter where somebody comes from, they're kind of coming here for the same reasons. And so there's some sort of connection at some level with most people who are here, which I appreciate and value. But yeah, it's a hard place to be.
Yeah, my sister did something similar. She came here sight unseen for school. And I remember I was talking on the phone. She's like, you got to come check this place out. I'm like, all right. This wasn't pre-internet, but it might as well have been because we grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere in upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
And it's just not having access to see what this place, I had no notion of what it was going to look like till I got here. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And it's this sense of daring. And it's so easy not to take any risks in life. And there's nothing wrong with staying in the area where you grew up. But sometimes, if you feel that itch and you need to scratch it, there's only one way to try it.
Yeah.
And there's no, you can always move home. You can always go back to where you were that if you liked it more. But I found myself really enjoying it out here, and people have, their priorities are a little bit shuffled compared to where I grew up, and then they aligned a little bit more with what I saw myself and the value that I try to get out of life. And still to this day, I feel the same way.
Before you got into the leather, what did you study? What were you doing?
Oh, dude, I did everything from, God, I was a deli boy. I worked at a caregiver. I was a Christmas tree farmer. I chimney swept. I did everything. I worked in real estate, and I can, all those things were fine,
mm-hmm.
but there was a limit to my love for it. And I never saw myself leatherworking, but I think it's a little bit more mine, and there's more creativity that's associated with this. So I feel a little bit more loyal to it and attached to it. So I was always kind of bouncing all over the place. I got my degree in global and multicultural studies, which is basically poli-sci and history. I ran for city commissioner back in the day and really enjoyed that. But otherwise didn't really do anything with the degree in particular. And then, yeah, I found myself, a lot of my family works for themselves and
Okay.
works with their hands. So a lot of entrepreneurs in the family.
So those both make complete sense if you have your own business and you're working with your hands.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of found myself thinking like, all right, my dad did something simpler. My uncles have done something simpler. My mom, a lot of people. So it was kind of, I feel like, natural to a degree.
Do you have a team working with you, or is it just yourself?
Right now, it's just me.
Okay.
I've had a couple people in the past. Would love to find a couple people in the future. Right now, it's just me, though.
How's the industry? Are less people getting into it? Less people doing it? Is it
More
hard?
people are doing it.
Okay.
Which I like.
Yeah.
I mean, there's in my mind, I kind of try to stay in the frame of references. It's not competition, right? Like my style is different from their style. If you like my stuff, you're going to buy from me. If you like their stuff, you're going to buy from them. There's so many people that want the stuff that I can't make enough for everybody anyway. So other people might as well be doing it as well.
That's a hard but really healthy mindset to maintain.
It is hard, but it is healthy. Because what I find myself doing is, even for basic products that I don't want to make, there are other people in the area, who do it.
Yeah.
And because they specialize in it, they do it better. So if I don't want to make a belt, I know who to send you to. If I don't want to make a holster, I know who to send you to. Saddles. If you want a bag, but you want it tooled and carved, I know who to send it to. And then I get people calling me for stuff that I do.
What is the full scope of everything you do? I think I saw wallets, bags, belts.
A lot of small stuff: wallets, passports, crossbody bags, tote bags, duffel bags, backpacks. Mainly products for women.
Mm-hmm.
Women are by far and away better shoppers than men will ever be.
I was going to say, my fiance has a nice leather bag.
Bag ladies are my favorite type of person. And, I discovered that by accident, because I was just making stuff for myself. And it became very apparent very quickly that it was the mom, the daughter, the sister coming in to buy for their brother, their husband, their father. And it was like, all right, well, I should start making products for women.
Yeah.
And once I started to do that, it was really well embraced, and it allowed me to grow. And ideally, I would just make big products. I would make tote bags, I would make crossbody bags, and then I would make duffel bags and backpacks.
Can you believe this thing? This is what I use.
I like it.
It's not leather, but I bought it in an airport.
Yeah, okay.
Because I was like, I'm going to have to carry my computer around.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
You probably
nice canvas.
You make something similar like this, right?
Yes, very.
So this is similar to the one my fiance has, except
okay,
it's leather.
Okay,
she gets compliments all the time.
Good,
and it looks good. She would love a lot of the stuff that you make. I'll show her your site.
And there are companies that make good stuff in this country, like little companies from the West Coast to the East Coast and everywhere in between. You can find high quality stuff. And it's nice because the purpose of this is to just buy something that lasts, right? Because the most environmental friendly thing to do is to use something that already is in existence, no matter how clean the new product is, right? If it already exists, it's better. And so it's kind of an odd thing, but you try to make as little as possible, kind of, right? In this weird, strange way. I don't want somebody to have to buy the same thing from me time and time again. I want you to buy it once, and then either appreciate it enough where you can find room for another style or another size that makes sense for you, or you buy it for somebody else you love, or you tell people that it's a brand that you trust, and so you suggest that they buy from it.
It makes complete sense in the world we're in right now with all the waste, all the recycling, all the garbage in the ocean to use something.
It's insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
We host, so in our parking lot over at the Misco Mill is where I have my shop. We have a little parking lot there, and once a month we have the 406 Flea Girls come over, and they put together a vintage market of all these clothes. And they were doing some marketing the other month, and one of the things they then mentioned was that there is enough clothing already in existence for the next 6 generations.
Wow.
So you think about that, right? Like, there's a lot of people on this planet, and another 6 generations of all of us is a heck of a lot of clothing. And it kind of makes you think about how often you buy clothing, or even just how long it lasts, right? Maybe you don't like to buy it and you only buy it when you need it, but you buy a pair of jeans and it rips in 2 years, or it rips in a year, or you buy a pair of sneakers and they start to wear within a couple months. So you can really understand how fast fashion is just like so ingrained into our modern consumer culture that it's tricky to get people to break out of it. But being in business for 14 years, people are ready to break out of it, and more and more people are aware of it. Um, so it's nice because you come across more and more people who appreciate the high quality piece. And back to what I was saying earlier with competition, there's so many people with unique taste and specific taste that I have no problem telling people like, hey, Wendy Raven's right down the road and she does amazing, sculpt work and tooling work, or, Snow Day in Missoula, or, there's like Two Bear and Livingston. There's people all over the place. There's St. John, there's Black Sheep, and they all do what they do so well that I love telling people like, oh no, like you want saddle work, go to Brian or go to Reed, or, you want a belt, go see Hunter, or you want, a tool thing, go see Ellen. And then if you want just like a classic bag, like I'm your guy. And so it's kind of nice to have like a community of people that appreciate the product, but then also a community of makers. And in Montana, there's a lot of makers.
And leather's a cool style too.
Yeah.
It's badass.
It is badass,
it looks
right?
Good, yeah.
Yeah, everybody loves a good leather jacket.
Yeah.
It's a good tough look.
I keep bringing her up. Shout out to my fiance. She has a leather laptop case.
Okay.
It just looks good.
Yeah.
Like I don't even want to show you the one I have, but it's like an old zip up thing.
The thing with leather
apart.
is like the material itself looks good, so you don't have to complicate it, right?
Yeah.
Like the more simple the piece, the better, in my mind, because it allows the natural beauty of the animal to come through. And it kind of, it gives it another angle of respect for what you're using. And everything I've made has at one point been living and breathing in its skin. And you realize that like, okay, you have to take care of it, right? Just like your own skin. You got to make sure, it's in good condition. And so it just gives you another level of appreciation, I think, for what you're making.
Yeah. And you think of saddles too. Like,
yeah.
Last forever,
exactly.
Especially if they're taken care of and they're so durable.
Right? And so, and so many people think, I got a leather bag. I can't put it out in the rain. I can't bring it out in the snow, or like the sun's going to bleach it. But when you think of saddle leather, nobody thinks of that, right? A saddle is meant to be outside. It's meant to be beat up. It's meant to be out there in the rain, the snow, the sun, just getting worn down, and the pieces become more beautiful the more they get worn. So I always tell people, like, don't hesitate to get it wet. The first one might sting a little bit, but every other one from that is going to make the piece more unique and more beautiful. And then you're going to come back and you're going to see me in 3 years and you're going to proudly show me the bag and you're going to love it. And that's the best thing that happens in business, is when somebody comes back with the piece and they come up and they throw it in front of me and they're like, I love it. And I get compliments on it all the time. And when I hear that, I feel like, job well done. That's all I'm trying to get.
I was going to ask you what's your favorite part about doing that, but it sounds like something like
That's
that.
it, for sure. And it happens often enough that I really, really appreciate it. And I've been able to start to call some clients like collectors. And that's kind of my goal, is I make things so well of a certain caliber that people want to buy more. They want to be associated with it. They understand that it's worth what they pay for it. And, it's not just it's not a smoke screen that's just hidden behind a name, but it's actually not that great.
Yeah, you're doing a good job, because now I'm thinking, man, I want some nicer leather stuff. It's going to last my whole life and not be a throwaway.
And, it's fun to pass things down. Like, I love the stuff that I have from my grandfathers. They mean more to me, even if it's just the same as something else, right? There's a story behind it. There's sentimental value to it. And why not have that in as much as you can? And if that's the case, then you buy less, you save more, everything's got meaning. And, I don't know, it just seems like a better way to live.
Yeah, there's so many different reasons that makes complete sense. Is there anything about the business or the industry that's hard?
Oh, so much. I mean,
anything about business
this
that's
as
hard?
a small business owner, you wear all the hats, right?
Yeah.
And naturally, we're all better at some of the jobs than we are others. So there are always things that I try to avoid, or just like put off and put off and put off. And it's not good for business, but it's just me.
Yeah.
And so I try to focus on my strengths and try not to let my weaknesses, get swept under the rug, take care of them. But yeah, man, I do not like making website stuff. I don't like doing social media stuff.
Yeah.
If I could just create stuff and give somebody else, kind of the creative license to put it up on the internet and, get it in front of the right crowd, that would be great. but you wear all the hats and
Yeah.
time flies. And so you can, you do what you do to stay above water and to make money and to make it as enjoyable as possible. And then, I outsource when I can.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally relate.
And your product is better when you concentrate on what you're good at.
Yeah.
Even if you let some of the stuff go to the wayside, right? Like you don't need, like my business, right? So much of consumerism is based online, but do you need to be online to survive? No, you don't. I mean, it's a choice and it's a tough one to make, but you don't have to focus on your website to survive. You can focus on the in-person, interaction you have with people and create relationship and product a different way, or sales a different way.
That's a special place about this community is you can have those relationships here locally, and you tell people what you do, and the word of mouth goes a long way in this town.
Agreed. And it's strong. Word of mouth is strong.
And reputation. So if if you're making quality products and people know it, it's word's going to get around.
Yeah. I mean, if I was up here, blowing hot air at you, being like, oh yeah, my stuff's great. And then you buy it and it falls apart in 2 months. You're obviously going to tell somebody, right? Yeah. And there's not that many people in this town. So you got to be true to what you're trying to sell people. Otherwise, I think it's quick to blow up in your face.
Yeah. And where is the shop?
It's over on the northeast side of town by Wild Crumb Bakery and Treeline Coffee. It's in the Mule building. So it's that big yellow grain building. And I split the space with another business called The Refillery, which is great. She has all sorts of like chemical free and bulk products for kitchen, your house, yourself.
Sarah?
Yes,
she's coming in a week or two.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that'll be good. I'm glad she's coming in. And then around the corner in the same building, there's the Misco Mill Gallery, which is a bunch of like sculptures and paintings and other hard goods, dry goods, things like that. So it's a great little neighborhood there. I think 25 little businesses over there. And the new projects that are going to go in are going to bring some more commercial space, small commercial space too, which I think is tricky to find in this town for businesses who are just trying to get off the ground. So it'll be good. And hopefully we'll be able to be known as the second Main Street, kind of the locals' Main Street. And it's a nice place to be.
Is there a walk-in for people? Can people come check stuff out?
Oh, totally. Shop? Yeah. We have pretty much set hours between the two of us. We'll be open between Tuesday and Saturday from 10 to 3. Outlying here and there, but that's pretty consistent. And come on in, check us out. Don't need to buy anything. I love talking to people about the industry. I love talking to people about town too. Like I find myself kind of just being like the information booth sometimes. And it's great because when you're in an area you love, it's easy to promote it and it's easy to send people places that you appreciate and you want to see thrive. It's a good spot.
If anyone wants to go online, they can find you there too.
Yes, they can. Don't judge me too much on the website. It functions, but it's brickbound.com. And my link on Instagram doesn't work. Trying to figure that out.
Can people buy stuff online?
They can. Cool. Yeah, buy stuff online. I try to do like the pricing through social media when I put pictures up on social media, so you can buy through Instagram and stuff like that. But yeah, online, social media, and then the retail shop, and then I do some custom work as well.
Cool. Well, hopefully somebody checks this out.
Yeah,
comes and buys a bag or comes and says hello.
Absolutely. Cool. Would love to do it.
Well, this was fun. Appreciate you, Matt.
Yeah, my pleasure, Tim. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, folks. You can find the full blog post for every episode along with key takeaways and links at mountain-mule.com. If you haven't yet, consider following the show. That one small action helps these Montana businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this podcast keep going too. If you know a business that would be a good fit for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out through the website or social. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. See you on the next show.